Hi, I'm Reece Smith.
And I'm Andrew Brown, and welcome to Tranceportal in the studio with Smith and Brown. We are going to do a bit of a tutorial on how we process a kick to try and get those sort of low-end techno rumbles that we have been using in recent tracks of ours. It's something we've been asked a couple of times, so when Tranceportal and Matt reached out and asked us to get involved, we thought that this would be something that we would really like to cover to answer some of those guys that asked us. So let's jump into the door and we'll show you how it's done. So welcome to Fruity Loops, which is our weapon of choice. Anything we show you here, you should be able to take away and apply to whatever DAW you use. You might just need to switch some of the in-the-box plugins that we're using here from Fruity Loops to one of your own or a third party. But we're going to show you nothing really groundbreaking, but this really is how we beefing up our sort of... We process a kick to get some artifacts and we then blend these with our kick and bass to really beefing up that bottom end and give you that crossover techno-trance, tech trance, big heavy, rolling and sucky sub sound. So I'll hand you over to Reece, who will talk you through some of the process.
Right guys, we have a kick, which is just a basic kick with a wee bit of saturation on it, as you can hear. That is on its own channel, but from its own channel it gets sent through to a send channel, which is the distortion channel, and we've applied a wee bit of distortion, Fruity's own, as you can see, and that we'll turn that on and that will beef it up the kick a wee bit.
It's very subtle, but you probably hear just that extra wee bit of distortion by adding that on. And it was worth saying, and there you probably seen in the settings of the distortion, we've actually got the mix right up to wet, because at the end of this we just want to take the artifacts away and not the actual original kick that's making that.
So from the distortion send, that goes into two other sends, a rumble send and a dry send that we're just about to talk about. So we'll start off with the rumble send. So to get the rumble you need a wee bit of reverb or a big bit, just depending on what you're looking for or what you want to gain out of your kick.
What you're going to get off this rumble is that kick, big sucky sound that you hear predominantly in a lot of hard techno stuff and tech trance. So the reverb really is what creates that, but then the other things that Reece will talk through is what then controls that. So as Reece says, it depends on how big you want that suck to be, depends on what you process, and that's probably a really bad way of phrasing that, but we'll go with it.
Right, so we'll start off with the reverb. I'll turn the kick on, bring your reverb in, and I will turn it on for you so you can hear what it does. And as you can see, there's a very subtle reverb sound coming off it, and what we'll do now is we'll add a wee bit of parametric EQ to add a wee bit of low end. Then from there you can have a filter on it. Now depending on what you do with your reverb, if you want to add a lot of distortion or whatever, you can have a filter that can calm down the high ends of the distortion or whatever way you want to do it. So we just keep that there for just in case, but we'll turn it on anyway. And from there we have a sidechain on it to give it a bit of a gate, as Andy says, a sucking sound. So we'll turn that on, and then at the bottom we added another EQ, not much, just to bring out the mids and the low mids and the high mids,
just to clean up a bit of that mud really.
So from there I'll just stop that.
So what you've started to see is we've took a kick, we've sent that, added a bit of distortion, and then we've sent the distortion signal to the rumble channel and created that suck. It's worth mentioning, like the Panoramic EQ, we've boosted a lot of the bottom end in there just so that you can really hear it when we're talking about it. We might tail that down a bit when we're actually doing it, or boost it depending on what you're trying to achieve. But just for the purposes of the tutorial, we want to be able to show you what it's actually doing. Then from the distortion we've got the second sending another signal to this drive channel, and with the two artifacts in tandem is how we get both that sort of rolling kick and sucky sound, depending which one you want to be more predominant. If we're doing tech trance, we tend to have the roll more. If we're doing more of a sort of hard techno style, we probably have more of the suck and less of the rolling kick sound. So let's fire up the drive.
Right, so we'll start off with a delay, and we'll turn that on so you guys can hear it. Very basic delay. It's actually just the first preset that came with Fruity Delay 2. So there's not much going on. With that, we've added...
Again, sorry, it's probably just noticing that although it looks backwards on this, what we're doing is we're taking away the dry signal and just having the wet artifacts coming through from the processing on this single channel.
Then from there, we'll add a wee bit of distortion. Now, it's totally up to yourself if you are willing to use distortion on your rolls. We do have a bit of distortion on the roll, but we tend to keep it dry, and we tend to take the distortion off sometimes.
Again, it really depends on the style of track that you're doing. So for the purposes of doing this, we put it in the chain so that you can see, because we do use it. Again, probably more when we're doing the hard techno, big distorted stuff in comparison to tech trance stuff. But it is something that you might want to consider, again, depending on the sound you're trying to achieve.
And on top of that, we'll add a filter just to control the distortion. From there, we'll add a parametric EQ again, and we're just rolling some of the low end off the...
Removing some of the sub-air elements.
Some of the sub-air frequencies from the roll.
Because you've already got them.
So, and then on top of that, we'll add a wee bit of sidechain to give you that gated effect. So
now it's time to bring them all back together. So bear in mind, I know if you're not using Fruity Loops this might look a bit alien, but with the sends, what we've actually got coming out of the kick group is the rumble and the drive, if that makes sense. So you're starting with the kick again, you're sending it to that distortion channel to add just a little bit of bite to it, then we're sending the wet distortion version of that kick only to rumble and drive, but we're then taking what we've processed from the rumble and drive and bringing them to one kick group. Now it's called kick group, but it's really what we've processed off the back of it, because we wouldn't begin using this same kick in the tune, what we would probably do is take the audio of this and blend it with a big techno kick or a big tech trance kick or whatever it is that you're aiming to achieve, and using this as a layer between that kick and that bass to really fatten up the low ends. So bring up the group piece and show them what we've got to once we glue it back together. So this is the kick group that is bringing in the rumble and drive. So again, just to kind of quickly recap, we took a kick and we sent it to the distortion. We took the wet signal from that channel and we then sent that to both the rumble and drive to get processed both that sucky reverby sound from the kick and the sort of delayed rolling kick sound with a bit of filter on it to make it slightly more bassy. Now we're taking the rumble and the drive and we're sending both of them to this group, and this group's really just how we polish it up a little. So to start off with, we have a compressor here, which is really just squashing it a wee bit to bring that out. So if you turn that on, Reese, and play it and just toggle it on and off.
And then following on top of that, we've added a wee bit more distortion. And I'll turn that on. It's giving it a bit more grip.
I'm aware that you might not be able to hear us over the microphone, so it's over the microphone, over the audio. So that, as Reese was saying, the distortion just gives it a bit more bite, a bit more gritty, dirty sound. Right,
now we come down and we've added a wave shape up. We've bumped up the wave a wee bit, so it's got a wee bit of a curve. It's not much, it just adds a wee bit more warmth and grit. So we'll turn that on. As you can see, it brightens up the sound.
And then just to tidy up, again, as you've seen probably at the end of most of these channels, we have a panoramic EQ really just cleaning up some of the processing. So this is, it's again taking a bit out of the mids but slightly sharper than another and rolling off some of the top end sort of trebly sounds. Probably very subtle. And yeah, as Reese is doing, he's moving about to find the sweet spot, so depending on the key you're in, etc., will depend where you need to make that cut. So that really is how we make, as I said, a sort of artifact layer from a kick. So we've now got that sucky reverb sound and a roll. What we would now do, because as you can hear when we stop it, the delay just keeps going. So to control this in the end of our productions, we would now bounce this to audio and bring these audios into another project and layer this up with our kicks and our basses to get that, to just really fatten up our low ends and make that punch. So we've now bounced the audio out, and as you can see we have a separate audio stem for each of the channels. So just to show you the audio outputs of them, here's the original kick again. The distortion with, or the kick with the distortion added to it. The rumble on its own, because it's just bounced out the artifacts of that, the wait signal. The drive on its own, again just bouncing out the sort of wait signal after processing. But what we're really interested in here is, if I just remove everything else, is the glued together, what we've called kick group here, but really the kick's been removed from it, so the name's bad. But you'll see as well how the delay when it kicks in, and the reverb to be fair, at the start kicks in and then progresses and gets more intense, and then obviously when we stop it, it's got a tail. So to make that more static and control it, now that we have it in audio, we would take a quick slice. So I'm going to slice out 4 beats here, and we'd probably be more surgical with that and end up only taking 1, but I'm going to keep all 4 here. We'll slip away in fast motion or teleport or whatever we do here to bring in some more elements and show you how this really does add to that low end, as we keep saying, to make it fatter and beefing it up. So give us 2 seconds.
Right, so we've grabbed a couple of other kicks, a punchy kick and a sort of techno-y subby kick, to add to a rumble and drive.
You probably noticed that we have took one slice of a rumble and drive. So when we left you 2 seconds ago, we had sliced it into 4 notes, but we have sliced one of them out to make it really static. And as Reece says, we blend this with these kick layers. Obviously we spend far more time over this. This is very rough and ready, just to kind of get the gist of how to beefing this up and get that sound, but just so that you can hear the polar opposite with and without it. And obviously once you start constructing more bass elements on top of it and everything else, it really just chunks up that bottom end. So if you're trying to go for a big tech trance bottom ended subby sound, or even the techno-trance crossover stuff, or even hard techno, this is a really good sort of element to add to just thicken up those ends. So here it is with just turn it off so that you can see the polarity between them. So there you go. So that really is how we sort of processed the big bottom end, and our sort of techno trance crossovers, some of our tech trance tracks, and our hard techno stuff that's to come. Tracks like Mental Obsession on Blacknet, Got the Power on No Remorse,
and we've got a few others that are coming out. So
we're not sure when this is getting aired, so hopefully we might have some tracks out when you're watching this, or they might have been out, and you'll know what the hard techno references to. So yeah,
I hope that gives you an insight into how we create our techno rumbles.
Thanks a lot for watching. A massive thank you to Tranceportal and to Matt, aka EverLight, for asking us to do this. And don't forget to subscribe to Tranceportal on YouTube and all our socials for more content like this. We'll see you soon. Thanks.
Bye.